transgender and intersex LGBTI community to victimize those who speak out against their agenda.
The feedback that we're getting is that the rally was a major, overwhelming success, that we made the points. The points were very clear, that the audience was inspired and informed, distinguishing those two. The overseas delegates, they were very, very motivated. We have hammered out some arrangements with them based on what they saw yesterday at the rally, and also we had a conference with them the day before. They have never seen anything like that.
Samuels also speaks to the initiatives that he says cause will be pursuing, including the establishment of a Caribbean cause.
There is a number of initiatives that we're thinking of. First of all, we want to continue our conversation with our overseas partners. We are now thinking, and we've made the decision actually, of establishing a Caribbean cause with the various countries. In CARICOM, we have established how we're going to move forward with them. We're in discussions as to how we're going to operationalize those initiatives that we have already discussed.
The group chairman adds that a public education campaign is also on the agenda, where the group will travel across the island to spread the message.
On the local level, we, with our partners, we're now going to be going into different locations with a public education program. We have already developed a training program, and now we call The Wall, and we're now going to go across the nation just talking with young people, church persons, with community-based organizations that are open for us to come in and just expose the population to the strategies that are being employed.
Chairman of Jamaica Cause, Dr. Stevenson Samuels.
The Ministry of Education says it has received reports of an outbreak of hand, foot and mouth rash among school-aged children in several schools. The ministry, in a release this morning, said the Ministry of Health has provided guidelines for the management of the virus in educational institutions. The Ministry of Health has responded to these reports, and school administrators are directed to adhere to the guidelines for the management of the virus in schools. Hand, foot and mouth disease is a common childhood illness caused by a virus. The illness most often occurs in the months occurring in spring and fall, and is most frequently seen in young children, infants and toddlers. It is characterized by fever and a blister-like rash affecting the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, along with blisters inside the mouth. Children usually become infected with the virus from exposure to oral secretions, that is nasal discharge, saliva, or to stool. It typically occurs in small epidemics in nursery schools or kindergartens, usually during the summer and autumn months.
The Southeast Regional Health Authority, SERA, is urging the public to purchase eggs only from reputable sources. In a release today, SERA said that the Kingston and St. Andrew Health Department has noted with concern reports that eggs are being improperly disposed of over the weekend at the Riverton landfill and are being scavenged by members of the public. It said the consumption of unsafe eggs can result in foodborne illnesses, including salmonella. Symptoms of salmonella include diarrhea, fever, and abdominal cramps. They develop 12 to 72 hours after infection, and the illness usually lasts for between 4 and 7 days. Most people recover without treatment, but diarrhea and dehydration may be so severe that it is necessary to seek treatment at hospital. Sarah said the 1998 Public Health Food Handling Regulation states that high-risk foods such as eggs requires the application and maintenance of specified temperatures at various stages of its preparation in order to ensure product safety. In addition, perishable foods, including eggs, must be stored and refrigerated at a temperature not higher than 4.4 degrees Celsius. Sarah said the health department is working in collaboration with the police to locate and destroy the unsafe eggs.
The Ministry of Education this morning said that adequate furniture is now in place at the Clancarty High School in St Andrew to accommodate all students. According to a release from the ministry, 120 desks and chairs ordered by the school's management, in addition to supplies provided through the Ministry of Education, were delivered on the weekend. The ministry says as a result, there is no longer any need to keep some students at home on particular days on a rotating basis. The ministry also says makeup classes will be provided for students who were recently asked not to attend school on certain days. Last Thursday, Education Minister Ronald Thwaites told the school leaders that their decision to keep approximately 200 students away from school for a day in order to cope with the lack of furniture should have been referred to the ministry for prior consideration.
The National People's Cooperative Bank of Jamaica, the NPCB, says some reports of misuse of money by its members have misrepresented the bank's true position. In a newspaper advertisement today, the NPBC explained that the members' deposits have been used productively, making loans to members, cash investments, as well as being invested in property, plant, and equipment. An audit recently conducted of the bank uncovered the misuse of money belonging to more than 200,000 members and rampant abuse of position by those in charge of the institution, resulting in over $665 million, or 21% of members' deposits unaccounted for. The audit found that lending from members' savings had reached the 50% cutoff mark and that the weaknesses at the bank exposed the institution to high financial, reputational, and information technology risks. The probe was carried out from May 13 to June 19 this year. The bank, however, in its report today claimed that figures as at May 2015 show the assets of the bank were more than $4.7 billion, while members' deposits amounted to more than $3.2 billion. The NPCB board said it is fully cooperating with the team now conducting a special audit as all stakeholders work together to overcome the current challenges as quickly as possible.
High Court Judge Brian Sykes has blasted the Finance Ministry's Assets Recovery Agency for using what he calls an illegitimate approach to enforce the Proceeds of Crime Act, POCA. The Proceeds of Crime Act, which was enacted in 2007, places the burden of proof on the state to prove that properties to be restrained and ultimately forfeited were derived from criminal activity. However, in discharging court-ordered restraints against the assets of 4 individuals last month, Justice Brian Sykes pointed out that in a number of cases brought before him, the Assets Recovery Agency appeared to have shifted the burden of proof to accused persons through an illegitimate form of reasoning. Justice Sykes says there is a deep flaw in this reasoning because the Assets Recovery Agency is not required to establish, even at the lowest level of legal proof, that a particular party committed a criminal offence or benefited from the commission of a crime.
You're listening to news on NewsTalk 93 FM. It's 10.5 minutes after 5. The Crown has closed its case in the kidnapping trial of businessman Mark Frankson. This morning, Frankson continued his testimony in the Home Circuit Court, recounting the circumstances under which he said he was kidnapped in 2011. Former policeman Alpheus Wade is on trial for the businessman's kidnapping in June 2011. Last Friday, Detective Inspector Colin Campbell testified that the police recovered marked money from the motor vehicle belonging to the ex-cop, which was reportedly used in the kidnapping case of Frankson. In a police caution statement presented last Tuesday, Wade confessed that he was involved in the kidnapping of the businessman. The accused indicated that he was contacted by 2 men who told him they had kidnapped Frankson. However, he said he told them not to harm the businessman. Frankson was rescued unharmed 16 hours after being taken. His captors had demanded $500,000 for his release.
Jamaica's Chief Justice Zayla McCalla says criminals are using technology to aid their criminal activities. While addressing last week's opening of the 4th Biennial Conference of the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, CAGO, at the Hilton Rose Hall Hotel in St. James, the Chief Justice said that globalization always connotes a shrinking world where technology has placed information and contact within the reach of a vast number of people. However, the Chief Justice noted that because criminals have access to and are using technology in a negative way, it has become necessary for countries to work together to develop a legal framework to keep them out. According to the Chief Justice, who has been occupying her position since 2007, People are now more aware of their various rights and are quite willing and ready to seek redress where they are wronged.
President of Generation 2000 G2K, Matthew Samuda, says Water Minister Bobby Pickersgill is no longer relevant to the plight of Jamaicans who have serious water problems.
I don't know about not relevant to the politics. He's still the chairman of the People's National Party, as I understand it, but he's no longer relevant to the plight of the Jamaican people. And he has caused this on himself through his inactivity and ineffectiveness. The sad truth is that much of Jamaica is suffering what is indeed a bad drought. And he's certainly not in charge of the clouds, but he is in charge of the response to what has become an annual situation. Now, a sensible government, a sensible business, a sensible anything would plan knowing that this is going to happen.
Samuda says the matter is made more acute, especially when the former JLP government acquired funds to address Jamaica's water problems. He said the PNP administration has the financial resources to address the issue.
The Labour Party in November 2011 received approval for $150 million from the IDD. To date, 4 years and elections December didn't have a chance to implement what that money was earmarked for. What is this? September, almost October 2015, just under 4 years since that money would have been allocated to the country. The People's National Party have only drawn down $30 million of that amount. So the reality is there is resources that was earmarked for that infrastructure work that would have eased the plight of people that hasn't been used. The IDB is not even happy with the fact that this money was allocated and hasn't been used by the People's National Party.
The G2K president outlines some of the plans the JLP had as a solution to Jamaica's water crisis before they lost the election in 2011.
Where the problems haven't changed much in the last 4 years. Now you will recall, and if you have the time, I would advise that you check back at the parish plans which were all submitted and tabled publicly for water solutions. So Kingston and St. Andrew has a very detailed plan which was left by Dr. Chang, which would have also been covered in the $150 million investment in terms of a first phase. Based on the fact that the population in the last 4 years hasn't exploded in Kingston and St. Andrew, problems haven't been fixed. So the same problems would be around. Points which dealt with the repair of dams, the repair of the major conduits, the major pipelines. It also had the implementation of conservation issues and
President of G2K, Matthew Samuda, speaking with Garfield Higgins on the evening edition.
Some 1,000 students from secondary schools island-wide attended the second annual Youth Climate Change Conference, which was held on September 25 at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston. The conference was held under the theme, Our Changing Climate, Trusting Youth to Act for a Better Tomorrow. The highlight of the event was a conference of parties which enabled high school teams to present recommendations for the first climate change action plan in schools in Jamaica, which will be incorporated into the National Climate Change Framework Policy. Students from 10 high schools submitted proposals for amendments to the document on topics ranging from the use of solar power to water security, preservation of the environment, and the promotion of climate change awareness among youth. The students were invited to submit entries for the photo, poster, and video competitions highlighting climate change impacts and issues. In his remarks, Minister of Water, Land, Environment and Climate Change Robert Pickersgill encouraged students to become more involved and explore innovative ways of spreading the message about environmental stewardship and the impact of climate change.
There was no change to the National Executive Council of the People's National Party when they had the Executive Committee selection yesterday. And Chairman of the party, Robert Pickersgill, says the PNP has set an October 5 target to finalize its 63 proposed candidates for the next general elections. Several months ago, General Secretary Paul Burke said he was expecting to have all 63 standard bearers in place by the end of August, but 2 months later, the final slate of candidates is yet to be completed. There have been protests in some constituencies over the proposed candidates, but Pickersgill says the issues are being dealt with. He says comrades are coming to grips with the fact that the selections are coming to an end, and the furthest the PNP is going is October 5. Yesterday, one of the selections was finalized when Lisa Hanna was approved by delegates in Southeast St. Anne after her challenger, Lydia Richards, pulled out, complaining about the delegates list. Patrick Atkinson's Trelawney North and Damien Crawford's East Rural St. Andrew constituencies are the two yet to be settled. That's local news. For international news, we join the BBC.
Putin are meeting in New York after delivering speeches to the UN General Assembly that exposed sharp differences over how to tackle the Syrian crisis. The Russian leader spoke of the Assad government as the only viable bulwark against the advance of Islamic State militants, and he called for a broad coalition to fight IS. But President Obama described the Syrian leader as a tyrant who dropped barrel bombs on children. He said America was ready to work with any nation, including Russia and Iran, but only if there was at least what he called a managed transition away from President Assad. NASA has obtained the clearest evidence yet that water flows on Mars, raising the possibility that the planet could be home to primitive life. Images captured by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter suggest that gullies on its surface were formed by salty water during the summer months. Christian militiamen have attacked the main jail in Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic, freeing hundreds of prisoners. The breakout came during an upsurge in violence between Christians and Muslims that's left at least 30 people dead since Saturday. Armed men are roaming the streets and putting up barricades. The Taliban in Afghanistan have taken a major city centre for the first time since the US-led invasion in 2001. Afghan officials confirmed that the insurgents have captured most of the northern city of Kunduz and are advancing towards the city's airport. And a British archaeologist, Nicholas Reeves, has begun a search for the lost tomb of the ancient Egyptian Queen Nefertiti. He's been given permission to use non-invasive methods to check if there are hidden doors in the tomb of Tutankhamun leading to the burial place of Nefertiti, his stepmother. BBC News.
Broadcast Jamaican and NewsTalk 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall and this are the news in the Jamaican language. The Office for the Prime Minister, Sir David Cameron, who is the Prime Minister for the United Kingdom, are coming to the country tomorrow. Last week, the government said them expect 2 special guests from September 29 to October 1st, but them never talk who. But this morning, the OPM said Cameron are coming to the country Tuesday afternoon and left Wednesday. The Parliament said Cameron are going to talk in a one giant meeting with the upper and lower house Wednesday morning. He will take part in a one flowers tribute to some soldiers who have been dead in a World War I and II, and he will talk with Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller. Shinzo Abe, who is the Prime Minister for Japan, are coming to the country Wednesday and left Thursday. One man gets shot and dead this morning in the Coronation Market downtown. According to the report, the man in his 20s and one man shot him who have the right to carry one gun after him see him try rob some people. The people them call the man Papi and him come from Chestnut Lake in a Denan town. Police put out an another alert for 13-year-old Jermaine Logan and 17-year-old Ori Ariad. The 2 of them live at the St. Augustine Place of Safety in a Clarendon. Nobody has seen them since Wednesday. According to the report from the Chapelton Police, the last time nobody saw the 2 of them around 9:30 in the morning at the homes, and nobody has see or hear from them after that. Nobody know what Jermaine Bainer wear when them last see him, but Ori Bainer wear one red shorts and blue pants. The Chapelton Police asked anybody who know what Jermaine Logan and Ori Ariat there for call them upon 987-2244-119 or the nearest police station. News from foreign. America President Barack Obama said his country willing to work with any other country, all Russia and Iran, to stop the war in Syria. Him being attacked at the UN General Assembly meeting in New York. Him said everybody have to work together to stop the war. Obama and Vladimir Putin, where the president for Russia, are going to meet up for talk about the war. Fight broke out in one of the camps them in Germany with some migrants from Albania and Pakistan. The report said the people them been a fight with some stick. The police said it took over several hours to stop the war being a one with nearly 400 migrants. 14 people get hurt. 3 of them are police. The fight been start in the camp canteen. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and NewsTalk 93 FM just give the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by NewsTalk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon, I am Mikhail Drama Johns with your 5 o'clock Sports Roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM, and we begin with cricket. Phil Simmons was today suspended as West Indies head coach. This follows his criticism of the selection process regarding the one-day team for the upcoming tour of Sri Lanka. Appointed only 6 months ago, Simmons slammed the omission of Kieran Pollard and Dwayne Bravo from the yet-to-be-announced ODI squad. He claimed there had been outside interference in the selection process. In a statement, the West Indies Cricket Board WRCB responded by saying Simmons was suspended and would not travel with the team on the tour of Sri Lanka. Eldine Baptiste, who is expected to be the selector on tour, will be his replacement. The WRCB says the head coach is suspended pending an investigation into the issue. Meanwhile, Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell has labelled Simmons' claims as disturbing. Mitchell, who chairs CARICOM's subcommittee on cricket governance, says any selection panel needed to be free of interference, fear or favour. As for WRCB President Dave Cameron, he made no attempts to explain Pollard and Bravo's exclusion during the WRCB's final town hall meeting on Friday night. He was, however, quoted as telling the meeting that the decision to choose players was the responsibility of the selectors. The regional side are to play 2 tests, followed by the one-day series. And more sports. Now moving on to football. Tonight's Monday night fixture in the nation's top flight, the Red Straw Premier League RSPL, will see Harbourview playing Waterhouse. Waterhouse travelled to the Harbourview Stadium for the 8:30 p.m. kickoff. Meanwhile, games yesterday saw UAFC beat then leaders Portmore United 1-0 as the debutants netted their first goal and comped their first win in the top flight. In other games, Montego Bay United MBU beat Boys Town 3-0, Cavalier SC won 2-0 versus River United, Humberland clipped Arnett Gardens 1-0, and Reno edged Tivoli Gardens FC 3-2. Further afield, Romelu Lukaku today inspired visitors Everton to a 3-2 win in the day's lone English Premier League EPL fixture as they faced West Bromwich. The hosts were the first to score when Saido Berranio netted in the 41st minute. Craig Dawson then doubled the lead in the 54th. However, Lukaku began the comeback a minute later before giving his side the lead 6 minutes before the end of regular time, as Arona Cohn had levelled in the 75th minute. With the win, Everton advanced to 12 points, moving up 4 places to now be 5th. Man U lead the tables with 16 points. Man City trail by 1. West Ham have 13 for 3rd, and the Gunners have a similar 13 for 4th. Meanwhile, West Brom fell to 15th, being replaced at 14th by Chelsea. More football. Barcelona's Javier Mascherano has been charged with 2 counts of defrauding the Spanish tax authorities. The Argentina international is said to have evaded paying a total of more than 1.5 million euros. It is alleged Mascherano sought to conceal earnings from his image rights by using companies set up in the United States and Portugal. A Spanish judge must rule on whether the Mascherano case should go to trial. The midfielder, who made no immediate public comment on the charges, this month paid the money owed plus 200,000 euros interest. Teammate Lionel Messi and his father Jorge has been caught up in a similar case involving earnings from image rights. And finally, in track and field, according to President of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, J3As, Dr. Warren Blake, the body is making efforts to roll out initiatives which will earn revenue from the country's global exposure. Among the initiatives are the building of branded partnerships, the selling of television rights, and the business of merchandising. The J3As says the Jamaica Tourist Board JTB is one entity that has been approached with a view of creating an official partnership. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama Johns saying stay tuned for the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by NewsTalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
.29 business news. On the local stock market today, the index declined by 150.92 to close at 96,356. The junior market index advanced by 3.35 to close at 968.86. Market volume amounted to 1.2 million units, valued at over $8.2 million. Stocks advancing today: AGM Packaging, Derrimon Trading, Jamaica Stock Exchange, Lasco Manufacturing, NCB, Sagicor Group, Scotia Group, and Scotia Investments. Stocks declining: Carreras, Grace, Hardware and Lumber, Brawlers, JMMB 7.5, Jamaica Cheese, Kingston Properties, Lasco Financial, Pan Jamaican Investment, Sterling Investment, and Supreme Ventures. On the foreign exchange market, the U.S. dollar closed at $119.02. The pound sterling $181.50, the Canadian $89.10, and the euro $134.20. That's business news.
And now we take a quick look at the weather. There is a weak high-pressure ridge across Jamaica, while a trough lingers to the east of the island. The trough is expected to become the dominant feature across the country by Wednesday and is likely to bring an increase in rainfall on Thursday and Friday. In the forecast for tonight, conditions will be mainly fair.
To end the news, the main points. Chairman of Jamaica Cause, Stevenson Samuel, says yesterday's rally was a tremendous success.
Ministry of Education says it has received reports of an outbreak of hand, foot and mouth rash among school-aged children in several schools.
People's Cooperative Bank says reports of misuse of money by the board is misrepresentation.
And strong student support for the Youth Climate Change Conference.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.